Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live, 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Okay, what is it? It's the second day of, the first day of summer. Happy summer to everybody. Okay, well, I have Wendy as my guest here. Steve and Dawn will be appearing in a minute. Okay, so I think we've got quite a lively show today. But as usual, I let it go where it's going to go. I always work with questions, as you're aware of now, Wendy. So we'll start the show. If you have anything to ask me, if you've read my book and there's questions in my book that you want to ask me, I'm here. 888-994-4995, Studio A. Please feel free to call in while you have me for an hour. So it's up to you guys. If you want to talk to me, I'm here.
Well
okay.
Done,
thank you. I don't usually introduce myself because I kind of go into a little trance and channeling, but I was able to do that.
Yay!
Okay, so we'll start the show with questions. We were having a really interesting conversation.
Yes.
Shall we continue from there?
Yes, I would say yes.
So give me maybe a question.
Like a prompt, alrighty.
Yeah,
So let's
because I work very well with questions.
So we were talking about how things have shifted over the weekend. How would you describe what you're sensing?
Well, actually, I'm going to share the story as Steve is here too, so I'm not making any of this up. But even I think sometimes, oh my gosh, how did that happen? But things have shifted, and I believe, and we were talking about the Mandela effect too, that we've shifted and we're into a different space. I'm going to call it timeline, right? The word space is coming up because it's part of the timeline. It's a little different. But I'm understanding, as much as I understand, and we're all basically on a learning curve here, a lot of what I have been talking about has made sense to me even more. So if you're not understanding anything I'm saying, I understand that. If you're understanding a little bit, I understand that. For me personally, because I have been on this journey quite a little while now, some of the things that I've actually expressed, I understood, but not at the depth I am now in this particular timeline. So I'm sure if you guys, I'll give you a quick story of what happened to Steve and I, then we'll go from there. How do we start? We were buying.
Well, I bought replacement damp ribs, it's things you hang in your closet to take the moisture out. And so I went to replace the one in your closet, and I'm looking all over your closet, and the old one is not there. And you didn't take it out, I didn't take it out.
And it was, just to say, they were pretty big, and it was in the corner, which had been there for over a year. So I had seen it, I'm sure, if not the day before, that same day. It had totally disappeared.
Love it.
So, I mean, the only thing that I can think of is it was the Mandela effect, and well, I also know, because I'm getting validation for myself as far as that goes, because I'm feeling more, I can't say powerful, because that's really not the word, but more knowing of what's been going on. Plugged in, that's good, and getting downloads. I feel a lot stronger in my belief, although it's always been strong, that what is happening, what has happened, and what will happen is definitely unbelievably there. That's the best way, as far as I can see it, to explain that. I'm stronger in my conviction, I think.
Yes.
That's what the word is. And you're here, Wendy, and especially Dawn too, because we've often spoken that we're in this timeline, so it's not just me. We were talking about it. I'm sure Dawn is noting it's a little different, right? And Steve, hopefully, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Just
We've all
ask you to explain more about what happened to us. Was that a shift in the timeline, and how does that happen? What happens? How we get back to where we were? We go back to where we were. Why wasn't it like it was when we got back there?
Well, and actually, I kind of explained a little bit to you about it, which I'll tell the audience. We shift, but I say we all shift, but we don't all shift, because that's where the Mandela effect is, right? But for me personally, I'm going to really talk personally what's happened to me. I believe I wanted the change. I wanted something in me. That's what happened originally to me from overnight, 20-something years ago. I was one person and I became a completely different person. Some people could say, if you understand what a walk-in is, I don't believe mine was a walk-in. It's my higher self letting me know. So I've shifted again to a much stronger I'm not even
Connection.
say connection. Yeah, I wanted to say belief, but that's not the word.
No.
Connection. Thank you. And I feel it very strongly. And I was saying to Steve that there has to be a reason sometimes why we switch. Am I going to switch into a lower vibrational energy, a timeline? No, I don't want that energy. I want the higher energy. So I believe for me, and I'm saying everybody, not everybody has done this right now. It could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now. I've switched into a higher energy timeline. I feel it absolutely 100%.
I agree.
1,000%.
Yeah,
as you say.
1,000%.
So that's where I would explain it. You're with me in this one. So I can't expect everybody around me, because that's my choice to have done that, to have the same, experience. However, you were with me to see the missing thing.
And I kind of think that many things that happen with us is just their way of making me listen and learn.
Yeah, to bring the
I agree,
awareness about.
absolutely. I mean, that's what happened to me. I was really stubborn all those years back. It took me going on an astral projection journey, not knowing where I was, for my guide to come into my life at that time, all those years back. And I've mentioned it to the audience many times, and he meets me the next day in person, who had been there, to tell me, I call it at that time, entering my dream. But how did he know everything in that dream? So it was meant to be. So then we'll go from there. We'll start whatever you want to ask me.
So I would say that, to your point, I agree that we're all on different stair steps of that. And I also believe that we're on waves, like first wave, second wave. So whatever wave we're happening to be on, there's those of us who have been on that wave a lot longer. So we kind of are way showers, for lack of a better term, but it's also through our anchoring in that helps others anchor in. And then, of course, because everything is vibratory, depending on where each individual is vibratorily, that's where they're going to enter in. So the timeline, when you talk about like timeline jumping and what causes it, and do we want to go back, if I may.
Oh, absolutely.
So when we're skipping timelines, sometimes it's to avoid, you were talking about having a premonition of something that wasn't positive. And we were discussing that it feels as though the reason for this jump in timeline was we've gotten out of what that premonition you had.
That was so important to me. I won't go and tell everybody what it was about, but it was a negative, very, not for me personally, but I saw something because I have been able to predict what is going to happen, and it has happened. But I was very aware of it, so much so it affected me that I've been walking around what I saw supposedly in my dream still on my mind. But I needed that. I actually needed to shift a timeline. So it was validated to me. So I'm getting completely now. There is no explanation how something could be in my bedroom hanging up. It's like a hanger, and it was hanging down. I go in the next day to change it, which they obviously knew, and it was nowhere to be seen. I even thought maybe I didn't realize I threw it away. The garbage hadn't been taken away. There was nothing. It's this big. But I needed to know that.
You reached down into the garbage.
I did, yes, with
Wow.
my ribs. But I had to find out. It's not in the house. But I now know that I shifted a timeline, and they wanted me to know that. So what I saw, the premonition, you were kind enough to let me know, because you went in yourself to find that out, that it has, I believe, in another timeline had taken place. So
Yes.
I got the past life of that timeline, basically.
1000.
So I now can get that vision out of my head. That was not coincidence. That was synchronicity that you were able to do that for me.
1000%.
Shifting a
Thank you.
timeline is not necessarily a time travel. It's
No.
They're I would say they run parallel to one another.
Because it's a parallel life.
It is.
It's another parallel that's going on at the same time. with the other.
dimensional,
Yeah.
it's frequency. It's a lot of scientifical things that go into it, but I wouldn't say they're exactly the same thing, but they run
They
parallel
have
to
a
one
little
another.
thing will be different, and we
Yeah.
may not even notice it. There was no way I could not notice this. I hadn't bought this thing for a year. Steve
1000%.
orders it, so obviously I'm going to go into my closet to replace it, and it's not there. That is ideally where maybe it's the same situation and circumstances that we left on the other timeline. But just to show you, it may not affect everybody. This timeline has affected
It
me
affected yours?
in a very positive way.
What does that
actually.
mean? How is it? So many questions. You guys,
that's
because
good.
for people who are watching this and going, I don't understand how you jump timelines because you're still here.
Yes, because I was still there in the other side. It's just, these silly words make sense. If I was still there in the other timeline, I'm still going to be here in this timeline.
So the only thing that changed is your damper was missing.
No, I've changed.
You
Yes.
changed in the timeline.
I've changed. I needed, which my first timeline that I was in, because that was totally different. I became a totally different person. Suddenly I'm painting. Suddenly this is flowing back to me, all that I knew from other timelines. I'm drawing things. That was more obvious. This was a little more subtle. We all do it. We switch much more than we think. But this one was important for me to switch into. I feel much stronger, very equipped to do whatever I need to do because it's us. I'm doing it, and not in an egotistical way, but we owe to
You're willing it.
ourselves to do it,
Yes.
whatever it is. If you're thinking about even buying something, treat yourself. I see it so clearly now. 2 days ago, I wasn't that way. Well, I was because I've been doing this.
Exactly.
But was I following the path that I needed to be on?
Yes.
Obviously, they felt the need for me to switch a timeline and show me 100%.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
1,000% that I have done that.
So Don, you said something that's pretty cool that I think I could use a metaphor for it. What does that mean to jump timelines? Well, I would say it's like there's multiple ways to get to the grocery store. You can either take this route or take that route. Jumping timelines is, it's not exactly, but if you were to put it in a metaphor, that's how I would describe it. So you're going to get to your destination, but let's say that you found out that the highway, there's an accident, so now you're going to have to take the low road. It may take you a little longer, you're still going to get there. So this is the same thing. Either you're going to take a little longer to get there, or it diverted you from something that was possibly devastating.
That's a great analogy because we're all learning. I have a lot to learn. So we sometimes need a little head start. This is what they're telling me. So I can only talk for myself what happened. I needed to know just a little bit more. Subtle,
Right.
but I know, I feel it. So we all get to that level. That happened to me a long time ago, and I suddenly had a lot of knowing came to me. So if somebody suddenly feels being positive can change this. Otherwise, I could have gone into a lower vibrational timeline. and
Exactly.
switched. I went into a positive for myself. Other people might have gone into a lower one. It doesn't mean it's the same for everybody.
1,000.
It's the same for us because we know what's going on. Someone that doesn't know what's going on can have switched, but it doesn't mean anything to them. That just came to me because I wasn't explaining it the way that I felt that I should be.
Yeah.
So that's basically the answer. So someone's just going about and it's not judging anyone, but someone that may not want to learn like we're learning, nothing really will feel different. They might meet a few more people like
1000%.
us, I would say us because there is a lot of us, to help them a little bit, but you notice it more when you're more aware. And I
Yes.
needed help explaining this. I hope I'm doing this.
No,
good.
you're doing it. You're doing
So
perfectly.
We need that awareness to know what's going on. Otherwise, if I had even stayed 2 days ago where I was at, I would not have the clarity of what I've got today, 2 days ago. I
Exactly.
see everything that's been happening to me so clearly.
Yeah.
But I saw it, I didn't understand it. Today I understand it.
It's very important what you said just a moment ago, that there are some people that, wouldn't see it. But our community, people who see things like that, we're a very small community, aren't we?
Yes and no.
Percentage-wise, yeah, I was just going to
Yes
say
and
yes
no.
and no. Yes, to meet the people in the community, yes, it's small, but there are many people out there today
And
that
we're
are
sprawled
working
all
up-
over.
Yes, But to actually come in contact, which I have in the studio here, I mean, it's been incredible. We
amazing.
only just met last week, Wendy.
Wow.
I mean, it's been incredible, and you know that too. And Steve, for you to be able to sit here and see a lot of what,
And
which
bear
goes back
witness.
to our disclosure thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. To be witness, whether you're there or not, it doesn't matter. It's up to you and what you want on your journey. I know where I want to be, and I'm getting clearer and clearer about where I need to be.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's all part and parcel of the same thing, because we're all here to understand and move forward.
And by right of our frequency or vibration, or how we go about navigating on the day-to-day, our sense of awareness is what puts us where on those timelines as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we might all have been on or are on this timeline. That's where I was, even I, of course, I'm only learning, I know that much, but I didn't understand that as much as I do today, just sitting here.
Right.
Because although we're on a different timeline, the other timeline's going on. We can fall back into that timeline.
Yes.
It's like being positive or negative or lower vibrational energy. Was pretty positive timeline, but I hadn't learned what I need to learn in this lifetime. So
Yes.
what's happened to me, I need to, on timeline, I need to know more. And I'm on the right timeline now for me to, doesn't mean I can't switch back, can switch
Yes.
back.
So
Exactly.
bringing back some of the conversation from last week as we were analyzing the movie Disclosure Day and different reactions that we had, to the movie, would you say that people who are at your level were somewhat disappointed in it, and people at my level were more enthused about it? And
It's hard to judge that perception. To know the people, I mean, I'm very interested in disclosure. So what I got out of it, if someone else saw it, or even you, for instance, may have gotten a different part of that movie, they got different things out of it. So to generalize it, I think he did well with the movie. I expected more because I understand a little bit more. He knows, I know he knows, but he was only, which we said we might talk about a little bit, ready to, put out what we were just having. There are people that don't want us to know. So he was careful, but people that could go in a little bit more through the back door, so to speak,
Yes.
will understand the little subtleties that he put in that we know are real.
The little Easter eggs.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that goes with life itself.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
I'm fascinated by the conversation of the timelines and everything, but I want to ask you, you think the community is small, and I think about that all the time. When I'm thinking, am I like totally woo, but I don't think I am, it's just who I am. And then you find people. Do you think there's more people like us, but they don't want to admit it because they don't know how to, they don't know how
I have
be
to tell you
accepted?
what Aldo said to me, because I totally get what you're saying. When all this happened, I astral projected, I saw him, he came into my life. I just looked at him. Well, he'd known me for a year and never approached me. I said, I was living in Orlando. I said, are there other people? Will I ever meet any other people? He said to me, yes, you will. Now that you've opened your mind to it, they will start coming into your life. And from then onwards, not like I have had in the studio, I found myself in a spiritual meeting. I found myself somewhere else where it was the first time I'd ever gone to something like that, only a week later after this had happened to me. It didn't happen before because I wasn't ready.
Wasn't ready.
So yes, there are people. Percentage-wise, it's smaller, but more and more people are definitely opening up to it, and you know that from here. They're coming in here.
I tell you, from my perspective, the more that I do my work, I've heard so many people of my clients say, Wendy, I don't have anybody to have these conversations with. And I feel that the more of us that are holding our anchor and making it okay, not taboo to talk about it, they're coming out of the woodwork. So we'd be surprised to know how many do believe, and because there's still,
Right.
that the stigma that's attached to it, certain people don't feel brave enough. But then they get their backbone, for lack of a
That's
better
right.
term,
That's
once
right.
they see many of us. There's strength in numbers.
Because people are going to feel that they'll be judged, that they're crazy, and this person, don't go near them. Today, it's a lot different than it was 20 years ago.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it's getting more and more and more. And because it's what we call the law of attraction, if you want to call it that, we're manifesting it, we're going to meet more and more people, and they'll feel more free to open up to what they've experienced. And it's like the effect
Like the domino
continues.
effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes it's the
But what's the
domino.
question of what they're believing in? Are they believing in aliens? Are they believing in spirituality? Are they believing in, there's so many things,
All of the
timeline
above.
shifts,
Absolutely.
magic?
All of the
and
above.
That's a really good question, because I've questioned myself. Does everybody think, I mean, we know a little bit more, and we go deeper down the rabbit hole, if we want to call it that way, of what's really going on here. Now, I'm saying to myself, does that come with spirituality? I never knew any of the other stuff, but I got the answer. It's all part and parcel of the same thing. You've also got to know what you're up against. And knowing that, you need to have a certain amount of what we call spirituality, whatever you want to call it, to even question that.
Yeah.
Because we know there's more greater than ourselves. Well, I don't want to say that, because
Yeah.
we are who we are, but there are other things that are going on that we were not privy
Simultaneously.
to.
Yeah.
But once you gain that little bit of knowing, I don't like to call knowledge, because I've always said knowing, within ourselves, then we open up further down the rabbit hole, if the best way to describe it, of other things, of the negativity part of this. And that negativity part is very important to know about, because you have to know who is up against us, not wanting to find this information out.
It's the perfect
so
catalyst.
It's all of the above.
Now, here's my other question. It goes to that point, that people, there's the other side. And Dana will tell me, for every light, there is the other side. And I don't want to label it, because I don't like labeling
Right.
those things. But there's so many people that label it religious terms. Or they label it really, really dark. Do you believe, does the collective really believe there is that much of the other side of belief and faith that's trying to hinder us from being there?
That's very good, because they're very powerful in their belief system. They may be very low vibrational energy, but as far as being what they know much more than we do. That's why they want to keep it a secret.
The other side?
The other side wants to keep it
It's
a
control.
secret. It's absolutely, they know, they rule. Let's put it like that. People that know what we're talking about know what we're talking about. They don't want us to gain that knowing, because with spirituality, you're gaining the knowing of a lot of not of what they do, but where they think and how they're able to do it. That's the main thing. They don't, let's say it to them, it's the biggest secret. I always remembered, I don't know if you know who David Icke is, you probably,
Yes,
I'm sure.
yes.
One of the first books that Aldo got me to read was, I think it's he's written many, The World's Biggest Secret. I could not, because I wasn't as spiritually as aware as I am today. He said, if you can get through that book, and Zachariah Sitchin, who was also coming out with a lot, which I know you know too, he said, then you're gaining knowing. Okay, I read both of those books, and they were a little different from each other, but David Icke was coming out with it. He was telling me the inner workings of it, so to speak. And I got so intrigued, not because I agreed with it, because I certainly don't, but my curiosity was. But I don't think that would have happened, Dawn, if I had not opened up to what we now call knowing more in spirituality. So it's part and parcel of the same thing. If I spoke to somebody, which actually I use you as an example, Steve, and it's not putting anyone down, but you were not aware of all the things that I was able to do, and I know that. But when I started to talk about, let's call the darker forces, it must have sounded ridiculous, because that awareness, with awareness comes everything, basically, right?
Exactly.
Awareness is everything.
But I'm kind of a believer, and I always have that, it's like the fairy tale ending, that the light will win, right? That good will triumph over the
well,
other
that's where we
side.
are right now. We're
Into
actually
the dark side.
Yep.
we're fighting against that. And my friend Aldo, who was I'll call him my coach, my guide, came in for that reason, to fight, because he understood it 1,000. Whatever. He knew what was going on completely. It was all new to me, although he told me I knew it from other lifetimes. He came here to fight that if he could have done. He didn't. He did not succeed, and he left before he had his time, because it wasn't his time to do that.
Right.
So there are people like him, and there is an organization that does do this, that is finding out and can actually stop things. They infiltrated it, and it's for what we call the light. And they're the dark, and they have quashed, let's say, a few things.
Yeah.
But they're very much in control, because they understand what's going on. more we can understand what the other side is doing. Let's call it the other side, light and dark. But we need to know about it. We really do. Should we do a whole show on this? I don't know. I really don't know. But I feel we have an obligation to say this is happening.
I can tell you something to piggyback what you're saying. I really do feel in my heart of hearts, whenever I speak of the other side, some people call them the powers that be. I call them the powers that were.
Yes, I love that.
The powers that were. I do not consent. I do not condone with my free will.
Right.
I know that
Totally.
we carry the higher power, and they're in an act of desperation.
They are.
And this is why we are getting those shifts of timeline.
I'm getting goosebumps.
So that we can, I'm glad, I really do feel in my being with total conviction, like you were saying,
Yeah.
that we are, I don't want to use the word winning because it's kind of like a
We're
tug of
coming into
war,
our own.
but we are definitely
we have free
coming,
will and get out of here.
and we're not doing this anymore, and we
Right.
don't consent to
Right.
our, enslavement or whatever type of word or control that they want to use. I do not feel that. As far as I'm concerned, any which way that I can flex my sovereignty, I will and I do.
I absolutely love what you just said. And just to say, there are much more of us than there are of them, but their power is overtaking us without a shadow of a doubt with what they've done. However, if we can get enough, because there's more of us.
Critical mass.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. If we can get enough people to basically see the light and what's going on, that doesn't matter because there's not that many of them.
Yes.
But it will affect it. So we have to win over the population to tell them these atrocities, I don't know how much I can come out with here.
Well, look what Steve brought up. He was joking about Star Wars, right? George Lucas,
Yep.
Steven Spielberg.
I am a rebel.
They can create content that gets to the masses.
Yes.
That brings up these tough conversations without people realizing they're the tough conversations. Do you think I know Steven Spielberg, do you think George Lucas and his team, they're in the know of that other side, like the force be with you and all of that?
I would say 1,000%. Because in order to make a movie, because we can see deeper into that movie, but by seeing deeper into these movies, even Star Trek actually.
I was just going to
I
say
loved that. I was addicted to Star Trek.
Channeled.
Loved it.
Totally channeled.
They have to know, because you can't make a movie of the truth. Then you can call it you can make a movie of the truth and you can call it fiction. I got that down the wrong way. And that's what they've done. It's fiction. But even the good things that are happening, like the iPhone, you see things like that in Star Trek. They're ahead of us. I mean, we could listen to something now that could be happening in 100 years from now and say, well, that's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. They have to know. They actually infiltrate everything.
Yes, they
the
do.
Television, the news, the politics, the schooling, everything.
The technology we use. Our
That's right.
technology is
It's coming from
70 to
it.
90 years
Perfect.
behind.
Yes.
So if we're thinking that we're so advanced in our technology, think about if finally somebody says, well, here, this is the technology we've had, and it's going to shoot us 70 to 90 years into the future. That's groundbreaking.
Well, if you think back to the Egyptians and the pyramids, or Mexico and their pyramids, that came from, I can't believe that mankind actually carried those, even with pulleys, to put them in perfect alignment with where they are in perfect symmetry.
We're
Came from where?
disconnected
Well,
with
it
some
comes
of our
from
knowledge.
a deep memory, because I can really talk about this because it happened to me.
Yes.
And I'll bring in my sketches. It came to art, but I was sketching. I was sketching all the signs and symbols. I did not know what I was sketching, of what they are part of. I'm sketching it. I don't mind talking about this in public today. It doesn't matter. Aldo would look at me because he knew that I knew something from another lifetime. I'm saying, what am I drawing? He never told me. He said, because they are known they'll let you know a little bit. Go into the internet, because he was here, obviously, and I would look and I would see the identical things that I had been drawing, good and
No
bad.
former knowledge.
So how
Love
in
it.
the world was for me it's very real, because I wasn't even an artist. So this is part of my story, I think, that I need, not from ego, not from anything, but to give people some idea that I was able to do this, believe it or not. As Elizabeth April says, take what you want and leave the rest go, or whatever she says, which I am saying. But I personally, for myself, was able to draw a lot of this. And Aldo's, when he was here, told me a lot. And today it's out much more, because you can go into YouTube and watch anything today. And they talk about it so much more.
You're laying
So-
down the groundwork for those,
those-
for whoever needs to come on the on-ramp
Right.
by what it is that you're presenting.
And it's not
Absolutely.
all bad. I mean, there are people in there that, into the organization, let's say, that have broken away a little bit, that want to depart. Whistleblowers,
Yes.
absolutely. And
We
there
are
people-
definitely in the time of the whistleblower.
Absolutely. And they're coming forward with it because they're getting to the end of their lives. So we're hearing more of the disclosure, let's just use that, which they haven't wanted anybody to know about, obviously. But we're fighting that. And it's important for shows like me, mine, yours, or people that come on to suddenly say, I don't have fear. I don't really, because I know I'm protected. But it's so important. Russ was going to come today. He didn't show up, but he said, do you think we can talk about this? Well, he said, do you think you can talk? He can, he will. And I said, absolutely, because if we all shut up, no one's going to know anything.
1,000%.
Yeah, just continuing with what Dawn said a moment ago, about Egypt and Mexico, there definitely was no branch of MIT in any of those.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it's interesting.
And they put stuff in front of us also. I mean, why are we not believing the pyramids or things that were happening in those days? These things happened. And it's right there. The evidence is all there. Why are we not believing in UFOs? It's ridiculous.
1,000%. I'm picking up everything that you're saying, and at the same time, I'm listening to all these things, and we're talking about skipping timelines or going back and falling back. This is interesting about the pyramids because I honestly feel that humans had a lot more. They say that we use 10% of our brain or something
Right.
like that. So if we were at that time, theoretically speaking, using all of the power of our brains, then this is technology that we had access to, and we've fallen from grace in a sense.
Yeah.
And now we're rediscovering and trying to catch up the timelines again.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Because what we have learned in the last 50 years, you think us as humans with 10% of our brain could do what we're doing, but the ones, I don't want to say the power, the other side will allow us a certain amount because
Yes.
they actually want us to move forward. They know stuff we have
But
no
slowly.
idea. It's very slowly. I mean, even medicine today, people are opening up. I mean, I'm not going to bring in the controversial vaccines and stuff, but enough people knew not to do that. They may not have known why, but they knew that there was something going on. So we're getting more educated.
Yep.
More. You may not have to believe it, but it's all around. It's pretty obvious, and they have the technology. They can do what they want.
Ready to take a commercial break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Want milk and cookies?
No.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show.
Okay, I think I got a remembrance as we were getting the countdown here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, we're going back on the air. I suddenly visualized a spaceship or a rocket
Blasting
going
off.
I was drawing rockets. That was one of the things that I was drawing, and I couldn't draw, and I'm drawing rocket ships and where they're actually sitting in that what we would call today like a hangar or something.
But on the other side of the extraterrestrial part of who you are and what you do, you're a psychic, and people can ask you questions
Yep.
about things and guides. So, like we ask you and everybody, let's ask the guides that happen to be here. Are there guides in here right now?
1,000%. And
Whose guides come forward to you?
who are they coming forward to me? They're making a crazy rush. You could probably see them.
Yeah.
Quick, get on the Sabbath
Yeah.
show, okay?
Yeah.
I feel them more than I see, but I'm beginning to see more now. I actually saw Aldo, absolutely, for the first time. I hear him, but they're here, and the questions that they want, that we are going, actually are going to be transmitted to you, Wendy, for me. I feel
Okay.
that very much.
All righty.
And Dawn, I was going to say Dawn too, but there was a reason she'll come back.
Yeah, she'll come
She
back.
had to go back. I know they're short-staffed.
So what they're saying, the first thing that I'm hearing them say, what is the first important thing that one of them want to share? Being that we're having this conversation, what is the biggest, most important thing that they want to articulate to us?
Our conversation that we just had, it's so important to wake up to the fact that they are, because they're helping us. And their main concern right now is we're a planet that's new. And everything that we're experiencing on this planet, good, bad, and indifferent, they're actually saying, is so important. So the more people that we can talk about what we're up against, the quicker, there is no time, especially on the other side, it'll come much more into the forefront, they're saying, and it's very important. There are many people working on behind the scenes for us, but
Yes.
shows like this and more that come out are very important. Don't be scared, they're saying, of talking about what we know. And we only know a little bit, at least I do, but there's much more. But we don't talk about it. How are people going to know what they're up against?
Exactly.
I'd like to shift momentarily back to the topic of free will that was brought up earlier. I read or I heard somewhere that yes, we may have free will, but we really don't have it until we learn how to use it. So could you expand on what that might mean?
Well, we all have free will, and we also have to give permission, which is actually part and parcel of this whole thing, because unknowingly we give permission. And I know you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
So we have free will, but it's up to us. It's our will. We're up to us what we do with it. But they want to take away our free will. But if we give them permission by watching certain things, by unfortunately, I'm going to say some of the celebrities, we don't know who they are. So free will always exists. It's how we are able to use our free will, I guess is the best way. But I had to bring that back into that because that's part of the topic, actually, which you didn't realize, I know. But part of we've given permission for this. Now we've got to stop.
Yep. And I want to say that there's also a level of them benefiting from our sleep. They're talking about the zombie apocalypse, and the joke is
Yeah,
how many of us are stuck to our. I watch how many people cross the street and stuff and never look up from their phone without even seeing that there's a car there.
Absolutely.
So we are in the zombie apocalypse, and when we say wake up, is to have the awareness of, oh my gosh, I'm sleepwalking through life.
Yeah.
So it's to wake up in essence,
And
to
the sad
add to what
part
you're
is
saying.
that you see on, you don't know, let's use Facebook as an example, you see these crazy things, you don't know, maybe some of them are actually true, but because we've got AI, and I don't want to criticize AI or whatever,
Yep.
okay, it is what it is, we won't know truth from fiction, because many people now are saying, oh, that's AI, where it may not be
Blurring
AI.
the lines. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a good and bad situation.
I saw a cartoon in a magazine not long ago where it showed a scene in heaven and people walking around with their hands in front of them like this, and God said to one of the angels, this new batch probably prayed a lot.
I like that a lot. That's pretty cutesy. That's pretty cutesy.
I feel like they say to you, we are here, we are here.
The good or the bad?
I'm hoping the good in this
Yeah,
studio.
I just here, yes, it is, and it's really, in other words, nothing is hush hush anymore. That's
Yes.
what they're saying, and I never use that word hush hush, but I think I know what they mean. It's
Yeah.
hush. It is the world's biggest secret, which David Icke did talk about. So we're getting it out in the open today. We need to, with that comes more technology too. We've got to be careful with this because they're in control of that too. You'll only know as much as you're meant to know. But we need to break that barrier a little bit and go into more, which I call my show, into the unknown, into what we go into the unknown. Try to figure and research ourselves. Aldo used to be in his room for hours and hours doing research.
But is there a discrepancy, I know this is going to sound very strange, between the other side and financial status and growth versus the woo, the spiritual side of slow and steady?
Balance. We've got to do a little bit of both. We've got to understand the other side and where they're coming from and all the things that happen, but we've also got to take it as we are, slowly, because it will not sink in. It's taken me years to understand, and I only know that much. But at least we've opened our mind to it, Dawn, but we show it in a different way. Our spirituality shows us in a kinder, softer way of some of, I'm going to say, the atrocities that are being performed. Our mind will not understand that. But if you do it gradually, we're doing the right thing. I can't suddenly give my knowing or knowledge at this point, I can call that, to everybody sitting here, not here, out there, saying they do this, this, and this, because our mind will not accept it.
Right.
So we have to do it, does that make sense to the question
Yes.
you're asking, in a kinder, softer way? And this is, I won't go into the fact that we're playing a game, an illusion, but that's how I'm able to handle it, because I know that this isn't, for me, I can't tell everybody what I can only say what I believe, that this is a game, this is an illusion.
And I feel like if we go back in history, and I am no history major, and I wish I had learned more in history when I was in school and actually paid attention, so I don't know it as much now. There has to be historical significance
Yes.
to what we were talking about now that we didn't realize then. And Steve, you probably have a lot of history information and knowledge, because Steve, I feel like, is the knowledge of all things that you want to know. You go back to the Bible, you go back to the pyramids, you go back to England and a past life and the royalties. Was there even the Masons? All of these things that are parts and parcel of history. Is there a tie-in between all of what we're talking about?
100%, 1,000%. Yes, especially the Masonry, but that would be the 33rd degree, and that doesn't know a lot of what's going on. But the lower part, it's like a pyramid. That's what
And how
Aldo
things were
always used
laid
to
out.
tell
They
me.
talk about Washington, D.C., how that was laid out.
Exactly,
In the grids.
absolutely. And one of the very first things, that I drew, and I've shown you that too, I was sketching, was the, what do you call it,
Obelisk.
The obelisk.
And Aldo said, do you know what you're sketching? I said, no, I'm just drawing a tower, aren't I? Well, of course, he went in to explain. So in our psyche somewhere, especially with me, because it happened to me, I still remembered some of these signs and symbols, because they want you to know that, in a way, it's like you want people to know what you know and play a game about it. Aha, well, we do this, this, and this, and it's right there, signs and symbols.
So
But
I want to
it's a
throw
game.
in something here, right? What we're talking about, the only thing that keeps on, like spirit is whispering in my ear, is the Synchronicity Key by David Wilcock describes this whole thing of this continued cycle, that if we're able to find out where we are in the cycle, we can undo the cycle.
Perfect.
Now, I tell you, the book is a heavy read. I've never finished the whole thing. I got into it, and at some point I had to return the book to the library. I plan to get the copy, but it's funny that he's not here.
Yeah, I was just
But
gonna say.
in essence is that I believe that there are many of us who are leaving the little paper trails. So there is somebody who's going to resonate and say, oh, the Synchronicity Key, let me go and take a look and see what that's all about. It's heavy lifting, but I tell you what they're saying was very fascinating to me. So what we were talking about, technology that we had and that we lost and all of these beings that are in, I really do feel that there is something about the remembering, because we were there and they want us to pick that back up on that cycle
There
and come
has
back
to
up.
be, Wendy, because I'm an example of drawing things that I have not seen here. Not that wasn't all I was drawing, but how would I know to draw these things unless my memory from another lifetime, which was 15th, 16th century, around that time, that these things were maybe more, well, they were with certain people more common knowledge because they were ruling a lot more. Well, they rule here, but I still had that memory inside of me, which I didn't even know was here. I'm not the only one.
No.
We've all had past lives. We've all been, I'm not saying part of that, but we've been exposed to what we're being exposed to.
Yep.
And many people found out, many people didn't.
Yep.
It's still the same game.
You can go back through every century down to the year 1 and beyond, that there were definitely telltale signs, as you said, of how they did what they did.
I'm getting, they're leaving their markings, like
Yes.
people leave their markings. Yeah, because it's a game. So let's get on the lighter part of this, because it is heavy stuff. In my belief, from what I understand, this is an illusion, okay? We're playing a game. Does that help me? Yeah, it does. It helps me because I'm beginning to understand more and more, because some of the things you hear, don't be ridiculous. But maybe that's a way, by understanding that a little bit more, that we can go deeper into the rabbit hole to know exactly what we have to stop.
Yep.
We have to stop it.
So to your point, I want to bring in about your daughter, Chelsea. Your daughter, Chelsea, she's going to, in a sense, break down the matrix, if you want to use that terminology, with education. And I feel that you're doing it in one way. Each and every one of us is going to have an opportunity to kind of break down what has been the norm, for lack of a better, the unconscious norm.
Yeah.
We've been going through the motions. And so your daughter's here to interrupt that flow. You started it. You made her feel safe enough that she can do what she does and not feel like, oh my God, my family thinks I'm crazy. You're not shunning her. You're obviously giving her the space to examine that or to break it down. And she's going, off with that. That's going to be great. We need that. So that's how we fix the education. In my case, I went to pharmacy 21 years, got a peek behind that. It's kind of like the Wizard and the Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, you know what? I'm okay with the occasional ibuprofen, but I'm not cool with sedating my son and messing up with his brain chemistry and stuff. So I'm here to break that down and at the same time channel that in. You're here to make the awareness for, the things that you come in. So each and every one of us, we are key components to these things. Now, do all of us do it on the forefront? I don't think we all do, but we will pick up where the last
The
one.
main thing is to be aware of this. And,
Yes.
and then you pick up a pill, watch the TV with the ads, they tell you that it could
gonna
cause even
cause
death. I mean, everything, do
Yeah.
not take it. Oh, they're not telling you not to take it, they want you to, but you're giving them permission to do it because it's all there.
Yes.
Really, if we
Free
didn't
will.
know this and we just saw a commercial on a pill,
Yeah.
and it said all these things, would you take it after listening to all the side
people
effects?
do.
And
No,
people do.
but of course
And
they
that's
do,
what they're
because
choosing.
that's part of what
And
we've
there are
chosen
people
to go
that
into.
need it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
that
I'm
need
not
it, for sure.
Both
Yes.
sides.
But then there are the
Definitely.
other ones, like these GLPs, that were designed for one faction of our population, which really, really need it. And they're being used by the other faction, and it just makes me think like there's no one anything that is 100% good.
Right.
Not
Yes.
people, not pills, not food. There has to be another
Yes.
side to this perfection of
Common
what
sense,
is.
right? And education is really
But it makes me
important.
think like, what are we putting in our bodies? Why are we
That's where
putting
the
these things
common
in our
sense
bodies?
comes
Is
in.
it
Yep.
lowering? I know it's changing brain chemistry just from the people I know that are doing it.
Yes.
But then it's like, why? And who is behind all? I mean, it opens up so many questions.
I
Yes, it
tell you,
does.
with this new me, because I can honestly say it's a new me the last 2 days, I love that.
I got a new
I
attitude.
suddenly was questioning that. I've heard all these things, but why are they doing it? I got my answers. I got so much of my answers because they're able to. I
Because
know
we
I
can.
can't, it'll take me
They
a
don't
long
want to
time.
give up control.
But they don't, because if you go back, let's say to when they appeared, they ruled. And they continue. Some of them left, some of them stayed. But they're not human, okay? So that's also an excuse. These are not human beings doing this to human beings. We think they are because I'm saying too much.
Yeah, no,
doesn't
no,
matter.
you're good.
Okay, shapeshift. So we see them in higher places. We see them all over them. Like go royalty, politics, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I don't care at this point. So we don't see that. But occasionally they lose that. They're not able to do that. So there are many people that have seen them the way they really look. So it's not necessarily human beings that are doing this. They're posing as human beings with a very high intelligence of knowing. That means they're dark, they're low down, but they're intelligent, and what they're able to do does any of us, until we begin to educate people. And that's so important. It's making me want to cry, because it's so important. It's not human beings doing this to human beings.
You know
they
what,
catch them into
I want to tell you something that you said. When you see them and they break through, that tells me we are winning. Because if they cannot hold themselves and hold that cloaking in there, then that means that somehow we're infiltrating their very energy signature that's keeping that agenda behind.
And
so we got
exactly,
to continue.
Wendy, without going into all the morbid details, but they need that to survive. So what are they doing? They're breaking our rule, and they're experimenting, so to speak, although it's not an experiment, on human beings, and doing really bad.
We don't consent to
we
that.
Can't even, no, but we are, because we're taking the pills when they're telling you not to. They're telling us, but we're never going to listen by all the things that they know. I mean, if you take in health, that's a very big part of it. They have so much. They're not giving it to us. They give us little by little of what they've got.
Many of the answers have been left to us throughout time, like from the ancient scrolls to works of literature, like Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. And,
Going down the rabbit hole. The
Yes.
expression itself going down. So you're
Yes.
seeing more. You're seeing much more than you did.
He's
with-
being plugged in big time.
Yes, he is. Because
We're taking
can't-
you with us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy to be along for the ride.
Because
Yep.
it's really, really important. And some people may say, oh, I don't like this, is getting too, low down vibrational energy. I don't believe my viewers will that are watching, because they watch every week. They wouldn't be tuning in. We've touched on this before. But it's important. So let's talk about something really positive. We're beginning to wake up. Right?
Exactly.
Which are all really good things. So
It
what
is.
do you think the overall, and I can't ask you, I have to have you ask your guides. What are the guides, the collective, the overall message of the time shift, of the awakening, of disclosure? What are they seeing or hoping?
Well, they're hoping that again, there's no time. So to them, they could say that, and we could say next year. They're making it known, because our time is on a time level, or whatever, however you want to say it. But it's so wanting, it's good. People, don't be scared of what may appear in front of you, which we call an alien. I mean, they're the ones that we were just talking about,
Right.
but there are also a lot of really good ones. So I'm
Beneficial.
glad you brought that up, because there's some that they've been wanting to help us since they've ever been here and seen Earth. We're an experiment here. We're also very, very capable of doing anything. Our DNA is stronger than any of the one. We just don't know that, of any, which on the planets, because we have a little bit of everything in us. And that makes us very, very powerful, Dawn, very powerful. So they're happy to see that we're bringing up things like that. We have their DNA, but depends how much you've got. Not everyone can understand it, but just anybody that's listening right now, believe that anything is possible. I've been saying that for a long time, but believe in yourself. Believe you are who you are. Believe that you can fight. Unfortunately, we have to say the word fight, but you can take in anything, good and bad. We have the power. We have the power in us. We need to show people that power, and not to be scared of anything. Continue to do good.
I was just going to ask you, for your thousands of listeners, what would you advise them? And you just beat me to the punch. You said believe.
Okay. Yeah, believe. I've always said that, believe, because without belief, and it can come in various forms. Let's even say religion, because they're praying to a higher, what we call power. That's better than nothing. It's just that it's been infiltrated, and they, I'm not knocking anything. Just be aware of what's happening. And if you have that belief, you can overcome anything. Not judge. Do what you feel compelled to do. Because that's the best way to fight this in any aspect. They're doing what they want to do, and they're low energy.
Love and inspiration.
So the more you lift that energy, you'll get more and more. You'll get the people coming to you. You'll get people to come, like on my show here. I started with no audience.
Yeah.
And, I gain more. If you go into YouTube, Facebook is good, but they keep taking the things away. So
YouTube
I need
stays.
to YouTube. Please tune into my YouTube this way. Sally Barnard, Call Me Zena, because I want more people. It'll give more people access to my program. in the show.
And you always talk about anyone can do this. No, not anyone can do the way you do it. But I do believe that people get messages from the other side, from wherever they receive messages, that when you receive a message or an idea in your head, you should pursue this because there's a reason.
Yes, because at that time you're more or less telling yourself that's the time now. It's the time. People are more freer now to come out with things, talk about reincarnation, which they never did years ago. And most 90% of the people that I talk to, I think, especially that watch my show, but just outside, I always am courteous of that and say, do you believe in reincarnation? No, I would say 9 times out of, or even more than that, people say, well, yes, we're interested at least. That was not the case 20 years ago. This was all under the, put away. Really? I was one of those people for many years. That, I think we come back. No. Yeah. But we do. And the more and more that's put out there, the more and more we're going to see more of what's going on. Because we need to know, as in anything, we need to do our studying, our homework, to be able to do more. I can't talk about something I do because I got help from my guys, but actually we all do. We all do.
If you could go back to an earlier part of Sally's life, would you change anything? And I don't mean physically, like with your kids, more spiritually or what you know.
Well, I think I would, yes, because I did know, but it was dormant. And I can answer that because I had Aldo to tell me about my lifetimes. And the one that you know about, I knew all this and more. But then I came in because of the responsibilities, that I had in that lifetime. I didn't mean I didn't know it, but I was dormant. And in this lifetime, I wanted to know more. Aldo came into my life, I have to say, at the right time, although he knew I was going to wake up in this lifetime because he knew what I knew. So I think it had to be the way it was, Dawn, with the trials and tribulations of what I went through and the things that happened, but also the synchronicity that happened that made me think there's something else going on. Yeah. So I was later in life, 20-something years ago now, that everything just blasted itself at me. I was wired.
So you feel it's never too late to continue to grow?
Never, even to the day you're on what we call our deathbed, because it carries on. What you do now will still, I used to think, well, what am I learning another language for? Because why? I'm only here a certain amount of time. But then I realized whatever we learn, we're going to carry with us. We may not always want to do that, but we carry it. That's why karma comes about. And it may not be in the next lifetime. I'm an example for me. I can only say for myself that I knew this years, hundreds of years ago, and it was dormant. And I really haven't done a whole lot of studying on this, and yet it's all flowing back, and I had Aldo to help me. Could that be not possible? How is it possible? Someone from Peru came to America to guide me for all those years, 20 years.
It's pretty amazing.
Plus a million other things.
So it's never too late to keep going.
Never too late.
Don't ever retire, Steve. Keep going.
But I'm a prime example of what you're saying, because my whole life I was all about the simple pleasures and sports and dining and things like that. None of this ever really entered into my daily life, and now it's a part of my everyday.
How's it changed your life?
Dramatically, because my eyes are so much more wide open than they ever were.
What does it change in your belief system of what you thought you knew to what you know now?
Oh, that's we need another show for that. But one of the biggest things is that what I knew, I only thought I knew. Now I'm starting to know, or I get the knowing, as you say.
Yeah.
It's a great conversation.
It's great to be continued next week.
Absolutely.
Yes,
the knowing.
Yes.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Perfect.
The knowing.
You'll be here.
Yes.
All right, Sally, so for people to get your book, they can go to?
I got to leave that to you. YouTube too. Please tune into the YouTube.
Definitely check out Call Me Zena on the YouTube page, because it stays there in perpetuity. Like, share, whatever you do for it, comment. And to get Sally's book, Call Me Zena, you can go to Amazon.com or Author House, AUTHOR, or you can scan the QR code right down there and check out her book.
And I'm here every Monday to answer the question.
And for people who want a private reading, you can contact Sally right here at the studio, or you can contact her on her email, because she does private readings, individual readings, not only about the collective, but you can gear it right towards whatever questions anybody might have.
Yes.
And I have to explain, because Dawn is so good at doing this because of what you do, I'm still partly where I was, so I'm just coming around, and I find it very difficult. That's why I don't talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Very
no.
interesting. Well, I find it interesting that you say that whatever you do at whatever point in life, I mean, Russ is older than all of us.
Yeah.
He still continues, but that will go with him until, I guess, whenever it goes
When
with
it
him.
comes back, yeah.
And it-
and beyond from where we
And
go.
after Sally's show every week, it takes me a good 2 hours to get her feet back on the
Yeah.
floor.
As
Yeah.
Buzz Lightyear says, to infinity
That's
beyond.
right.
Beyond.
Well, thank you guys. It was
You're
a good
welcome.
show.
All
Thank
right,
you.
say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.